Hello and welcome back. I'm ShyWizard. I'm going to do another FS17 tutorial here today. I'm going to look at the AV water storage FS17 placeable, but I'm going to be doing this as a Giants editor import. I'm going to do it in the way I try to do these things, or tend to do these things. You can choose to do it the same way, or if you have a better way or a different way that works for you, then go with it, whatever. But I don't like to have folders with separate shaders and shared folders with one texture in and stuff like that, you know, buried within the map structure, because I just think it's a waste. So what I'm going to do is actually bring over the parts that I'm going to need with the import of the mod, but I'm going to then restructure all of the actual folders and whatever else, just to give it a little bit more of an optimization feel. Even if it's not going to be fully optimized, to me it'll just look better, I think. Now obviously you can do this however you want to do this. I'm just going to create a folder called imports, and then I'm just going to call this water storage, like so. We've got some textures and stuff like that in here, so I'm going to select all of those and bring them over. Just copy them in like that. Let's see if there's duplicates. Might be. Sometimes when you're doing this you might get duplicates, and I don't want to have, you know, just again one folder with only a few different bits in there. So I'm pretty sure we should have 5. Yeah, so it's only this one that's called the same as this one. Perhaps that one. Building detail, that's specular. So building details, don't know what the difference is between those. Slightly different texturing, so what I could do here I think is perhaps maybe rename that, and then we'll copy that and paste it over. Might be some, you know, you'll might need to take a bit of time and just do some restructuring of the actual i3ds with the path file names and things like that to point in the right places and all the rest of it, but I think in the long run it is worth doing this, just to, you know, reduce the amount of folders you have with only one texture in and things like that. I've got a scripts folder, so I'm going to copy over my scripts here. So I want those ones, don't need the others. I think this was originally a fabric script mod from what I can see here, and it's then been converted to mCompany. So when you're working with this, you won't need the fabric script or the additional triggers lure. The additional triggers lure is basically for liquid triggers, which works with the fabric script, but the mCompany script then uses this mCompany add-on lure, which is all to do with liquid triggers and stuff like that. So you won't need to have the additional triggers and the fabric script one. Just use the mCompany factory and the mCompany factory add-on lure. You won't need any of the others. I'm pretty sure that's the only ones that are being used. Yeah, in the mod desk here you can see that's the only ones that are being registered, so they're not, those other ones aren't required. They just weren't removed from the mod for whatever reason. So I've got those into there like that. What I'm going to do then is take my i3D and i3D shapes, and I'm going to put that into the maps folder where my map01 is. Sounds, we can take that and put that into here, like so. Shared, we probably already have a shared dirt normal, we do, so I don't want to have that again. Shaders, building shader. That's just a building shader. Not sure why. We'll take it anyway. Probably no different to the other one, to be honest with you, but might be some differences. We'll take it and then use it, that's fine. But it keeps it all in that one folder, so I haven't got one folder buried somewhere within the map structure with just one shader in it. I've integrated them into my shaders folder this way, so for me that works much better. So we've got all of that stuff in there, so I'm going to close that down for now, because I'm going to need to rebuild the actual i3D to point into the right places. So this is going to be // I think. Yep. Because we're having to go back one folder. Sounds folder is in this place. Yeah, there's my sounds folder, so I don't need to do anything with that one. And then all these other ones are going to need to be changed somewhat. And what I'm looking for is this one here, because this one here underwater, the folder that I took this from, I changed that from building details _ diffuse to the same but with a 1 on the end of it. So I need to make sure I change that now before I change the path file name, otherwise it'll be harder to track down. So what I've done here is I've just gone imports and then water storage for all of the textures. So I need to change all of these to match that. So up here we'll do imports water storage. I can copy that and paste it into all the others. Like I said, you can do this whatever way works for you. For me, I've always found this is the best way. It's a little bit longer winded sort of thing. It does take a little bit longer, but it cuts down on so many different folders. It cuts down on shared files, duplicate textures, and all sorts of stuff. Now I'm sure that the map itself probably has some of these textures already on it that could be found, but not going to start doing that in a video. I just want to show you what you can do for optimization and stuff like that, you know, just to cut down, even if it's not got anything to do with performance optimization. It just structures your map folders a little bit better, in my opinion anyway. Now I'm not saying this way is 100% perfect. You may do all of this and then open it up in Giants Editor, which is what we're going to do now, and find that it's full of errors anyway. But that's just part and parcel of it. You have to do that, go through it, and then see what your errors are, and then fix them, because I've now got an error here, failed to open shading, so I need to change that from shader to shaders. That's fine. And imports water storage building details, so can't find that, so not quite sure why, but we'll figure that out in a minute. So I'm just going to put that up on my other screen so I can actually read the things there. So we'll open this up in Notepad++ again, and I need to put an S on the end of there, which I thought I'd already done, but obviously not. So let's save that, and we have this one here, imports water storage building detail _ diffuse 1, which is what I thought I changed it to. Imports water storage. Oh, it's building details 1. My bad. So we need to take the 1 from there and put 2 there. Okay, should be good. So let's close that, reopen this in Giant Editor again. Just a simple spelling mistake can really throw a spanner in the works sometimes. You miss a letter off, or it's not, quite right, and then you've got problems. So now I've restructured all of the parts, I've got, to me, a much cleaner mod that I'm now willing to bring into the map. Whereas if I was literally just to copy over the main folder as it was before, with all of the scripts, the shaders, the shared files and sounds and whatever else in its own folder structure, there would be a lot longer path file names, and you'd have many duplicate files, and a lot of folders would only have one texture in them, which to me just is a waste of space. So I think by doing it this way, I've got my imports, I've got my water storage folder, and it's got all of my textures and everything else in there. But again, you can work with that however you want to do that. Now I can see I've got some shaders here that potentially could be moved. That's something that I probably will look at once I get down the road a little bit. These can be moved later on if I feel I need to, because there's no point in having them there. But they're going to be controlled possibly by other things, so I don't want to mess about with them just yet. But they will be potentially moved later on. But at the end of the day, I've cut down on the amount of folders I've got and whatever else, so for me that's a win-win. So okay, I think what we'll do then is go back into the actual map here a second, and we'll get the actual mod imported. Now like I said, I've actually created an area up here. I don't know if anybody's ever driven up here. This is not somewhere I've generally gone on Goldcrest Valley. It's up in the hills over by the BGA, and there's normally a lookout station over here, and I thought this would be quite a nice area to have a water station sort of thing, especially one that collects water from rain. The higher up, I think would be quite a good thing. Don't know much about that sort of stuff, but for me that seemed to be a good idea, so that's what I've gone with, and it gives opportunities to then drive places you potentially wouldn't never ever go, because the lookout tower is not interactive, so why would you ever bother coming up here unless you're going to do some forestry or whatever. But so to put something like that is interactive and can be useful in an area that may not go very often on the farm or on the map, then that can be sometimes a good thing in my opinion. So I'm just going to get the mod imported, so I'll go File, Import, make sure I'm in the right folder here, Maps, Imports, and I've got my folder with all my textures, but the i3D is actually where my Map01 i3D is, which is why I put it there. So we click on that, brings it into the map. Fantastic. Now I've already placed this on the map itself, so I know where I want it to be exactly. You'd need to obviously position it in a certain fashion that's going to work for you, so I'm just going to cheat here a little bit and bring over the actual attributes of where I had it when I test imported it to see what it would look like and where it would fit and all the rest of it, and get the terrain to the right height and whatever. Like so. So I've got it in the map now, and you can see that that's fine as it is, but we've got some jutty out bits and whatever else because the ramps are still there, so I don't want those. So I'm just going to come into here and we'll find the two ramps because I don't need them in my particular case, and we'll get rid of them. Now if you were going to obviously put this on a much flatter area or whatever else, then that may be something you'll need if you wanted to put it down wherever, and then have the ramps to drive up it and whatever else, so it was raised up off the ground like that way, then that's fine. You'll need to obviously have the ramps there, but for me I wanted to put it into the ground sort of thing like this, and then work with that, and bring it, make it look like it's part of the sort of the scenery, the area and whatever else, just not a barren setup. Yeah, so okay, we have our parts in here, the actual on create, which is pointing to our M company factory script setup, whatever else, that's fine. All of our inputs, so you can see here we have liquid trigger where we would empty in our water for storage and whatever else, but it also has this water from rain, which is set up through the M company factory script. We have a user attribute. You can change this to whatever you want to. So whatever we want to put in here, so litre per hour, every hour when it's raining, this will collect 2017 litres of water, but only when it's raining. It's not going to do that when it's not raining. That's the idea of, water from rain. It only works when it actually rains, I guess. So we have that, we have some displays and whatever else. Liquid trigger here, which is for our output, so we can collect our water there. Now I will say one thing that this particular mod has not incorporated, which I tend to do with a lot of the M company stuff myself now, is the M company graphic setup, where you actually have the little window pop up on your screen with all of the information to do with the M company graphics, so you don't have to have all these screens anymore and whatever else. As soon as you come into your player trigger, it pops up and then displays what it is, and all the rest of it looks quite nice if done correctly. But we haven't got that on this particular one. If you wanted to do that, you could. I'm not going to get into that. It's creating a lot of XML stuff, so it's a little bit more in depth. I just wanted to get this into a map. I was asked to take a look at this, so I figured why not. And we'll see what happens. I've actually played around with this sort of setup myself with the M company stuff before. If I can find the actual map that I did, this one, which is another Goldcrest Valley edit that I played around with. I actually brought a lot of different animals and stuff like that, working with animal husbandry stuff and whatever else, but I actually created a water fill from rain water sort of setup like this one here. It only works with water from rain. You do not have any input triggers or anything. You put in fuel, which basically makes the actual pumps work and everything else, but it can only be filled from rainwater. So it has a sign here that says this water can only be filled, water tank can only be filled by water collected from the rain. Water can be transported to the water from the water tank with a water tanker for use on the farm. So this is my kind of setup, just stuff that's already on the map to do with, that's the slurry thingy from the BGA, and I've just taken some parts and brought in a fuel thingy-majig in there, fuel tank, and just built the mod up around it. But the difference between this one though is I've actually incorporated the M company graphic. We have a M company graphic XML, which then displays on screen in that sense, so you don't have any actual physical displays on the building itself. It's all to do, or it's all done through the actual M company factory, the M company graphic script, I should say. I just want to show you that really quickly, because this one doesn't have that function. It uses the old style fabric script screens, which are fine. That's okay if that's what you want to go with, but I tend to like the M company graphic stuff now. Been using it for quite a while, and to go back to this was not, is not my. I don't want that anymore. I want to use the M company graphic stuff. But anyway, so what I'll do then is we've got all of that stuff into there, and that's all set up, so we can go ahead and save that now. So we close the actual GiantZerta session down then. I no longer require the i3D and i3D shapes for the water storage, because I've now integrated it into the Map01 i3D, and that's fine. So next thing then we're going to look at is our mod desk, and we need to bring over a couple of extra parts in here to do with some scripts and stuff like that. So if we open up the mod desk for this one as well, So you can see here you've got some parts to do with the fabric script, but it's not anymore, it's to do with the M company. Similar script, but just the M company has a lot more functionality to it. So we're going to copy all of this stuff over. I suppose I could take that as well, it doesn't really matter on this map. Don't need the functions one, that's just for the placeable version. So it shows up in the store what it does, but we don't need that because we're not going to be purchasing it from the store. So I'm going to create a few lines here and just paste that in like so, and then we'll take our extra source files, path file names for our scripts, so we'll take those and add this in like so. Nothing else I need from there, so we can close that down. And obviously you need to make sure that the path file name for your scripts are going to be correct, and I've actually got my scripts in maps scripts, so I'm going to do that, and that's not spelt correctly because it's got an uppercase and I want it to be lowercase. So we've now got maps scripts M company factory and maps scripts M company factory add-on. Fantastic. So can save that, close all of that down, don't need that anymore. We've now linked all of the parts together to do with our scripts and our map optimization, somewhat with our path file names and folder structures and whatever else. I think that that's more important, you know, than a lot of other things. Getting all your folder structures correct, because I've seen some maps which just literally go on forever and ever and ever with path file name, you know, folders upon folders upon folders with one texture in. You know, you've gone through 10 different folders just to get to one texture, and I think that's just, you know, a bit of a waste. So folder structure is somewhat important, I think, in my opinion anyway. So I think what we'll do then is, now that we've set all that up, to really get into game and just see what happens. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I've come into the area where we placed, or where I placed the actual mod. Doesn't look too bad. I think it looks quite good. It's integrated into the map nicely. You know, you've got some decorative stuff around it. I just left the, you know, bits and pieces, the odd bod bits, you know, lying around. So you could say that somebody's been up here sitting on a stool looking out over the scenery, sort of thing, whatever. It just gives it a bit more atmosphere and stuff like that. And you know, the trees and the bushes and whatever else. But I bought a JCB fast track, just the small one, and a Joskin's water tanker thingy, Bowser, whatever you want to call that, just to get some water in here and test it all out. Now, what I will say with the fabric script, you would have your F1 menu open, come into your player trigger, which would be in front of the screen here, and it would then display in the F1 menu what was in there and what was not, and so on and so on. With the M company script setup, you don't get that, because it relies on the M company graphic script to display all the information in your bottom right corner of your screen in a nice graphical display, and whatever else, obviously depending on how that's been set up, which we haven't got in this particular case, because this is a fabric script conversion. From my guessing, looking at the scripts in the folder and the way that it's been set up and whatever else, the person who converted it didn't bother to include the M company graphic XML and all the rest of it, and you know, all that part. So yeah, it's going to be lacking somewhat without that, because you're not going to get any information at this point. I don't even know if it's going to run, because I've got no information in my F1 menu. I have got a digital display up here, which is at the moment obviously showing 0, so that's a good indication. If it was showing nothing at all, you know, if that screen was blank, then that would indicate for sure that it was never going to work. But it is looking a little promising with the 0 there. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of guesswork whether it's going to do anything at this point, because, you know, until I put water in it and then wait until it's kicked into gear and done whatever it's going to do, I'm not sure if it's going to actually do anything at all, but we'll see what happens. So if we come into the trigger here, we've got in the F1 menu there, start unloading water with the R key, so that's what we'll do. And you can see it's going in, and whatever else, if I hop out of there, that should continue to go in on its own. At the moment obviously it's still showing 0 because it's in the tank and not in the output, so it will take a little while for it to transfer over to there, so I'll just speed up time. And as you can see now, we have a blue screen come on with all of our information, and the display is now working. So it is working, you know, there is that, I guess, you can take from it. And it does show on here that it's transferring a certain amount of water from the tank here over to our stored water over here, which is our output. So that is obviously working, but you don't have that information in the F1 menu anymore. Like I said, it requires the M Company graphic script setup to then display that information outside of this screen. So once this is finished and it then switches off, this screen is going to go blank. You're not going to have this screen anymore, so you'll have to rely solely on that digital display up there to know what is in it, because you won't be able to view this anymore because it will be turned off. And if I do that and speed it up, now the water's transferred from the tank over to the output, the screen goes dark. So looking at this is going to give me absolutely no information whatsoever, so all I have to rely on is that up there. To integrate the M Company graphic script setup, I would say, is a definite bonus. I may look into doing that at the end of the video here and just set that up so you can see what's involved and what it can show you and stuff like that. Not sure yet, we'll see how we go. I don't know how long this video's been yet, but might do a separate video, who knows. But we do have it all working. It's in the map, it's placed, and whatever else, it does work. So, you know, there's that, I guess. And we can now obviously come round to our output trigger and then collect our water from there. So if we come on round again and R to start loading water, so we'll do that, and it is working. The display is going down and we're filling our tank back up again. So at the end of the day, you know, it does work. It's in the map, it's a giant set to import, all working, but with limited functionality, I think, in my opinion, because we don't have that information show up all the time once the actual factory is switched off, because it's done its job, it's transferred the water from one side to the other, our screen goes blank, and then we have no information being displayed anywhere. Obviously that little display up there, sure, but I would like to be able to see a little bit more than that. But if that's good enough for you, then go with it. So I think I'm going to end it here. Actually, I'm not going to mess about the M Company graphic stuff in this particular video. I may do that in another video. But yeah, I'm ShyWizard. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.